So I hope my screen should be visible now. And let me quickly go to the mind map. Okay. So today, what's the agenda is that we will continue our discussion. That will continue our discussion on on the 6 stages of the life cycle, and we'll try to kind of uh, deep dive little bit further on all these topics, okay, in the incident response part. And the other thing that we will be kind of covering from the lab sites again. So those are ICMP, sniffer and injector. So this is something we'll look at. Let me just quickly, yeah, this is something we'll look at. And if time permits, we will complete the port scanner. So we'll try to see how we can implement our own port scanning methodology. Okay. So these are the two things that we'll see from the lab side. And the lab side and kind of like start with the discussion. Okay. So in similar way, today we'll start first with the one lab and then some bulk of theory because we need to kind of complete some incident response thing. We need to kind of understand a lot of things about how the incident is handled. Let's say how we can yesterday I explained, let's say, eradication, right? So how we can kind of like whenever we are kind of dealing with any incident, how we can be sure that we have fully eradicated the attacker. Okay, so this is something again we will be kind of looking at in more further details how it can fail and how it we can kind of make sure that we have fully eradicated the adversary. Okay, so we'll look those things in much detail. So as I told, like this all things will be a part of little bit of theory. So for that thing, to kind of keep the session kind of both theory and lab, we will first start with the ICMP sniffer and injectors. Okay, so let me quickly start the Ramnex. And okay, so it's starting up. And in the meantime, what we'll do is let's continue our discussion. Let it start up, and then we'll kind of uh, see that lab. Okay, so okay. So another thing is that we'll now look at more at the eradication part. Okay, at the eradication part. So there are a few things that I like to discuss about the eradication. So let me just quickly write it over here. Okay, so why I mean is that this part is little bit tough, eradication part. Okay, the reason for that is there are a few things like the adversary that might have attacked the organization. So they are actually quite good in kind of most of the time they are very good in avoiding any kind of detection. Okay, so that is one part why it's most of the time it's very hard to kind of say that okay, we have successfully completed the eradication stage. We need to be really very good in the technical parts for that. Okay, so think because the reason only is that our adversaries are also quite tech savvy and they will employ a lot of techniques by which they can avoid any kind of detection on the company assets. Okay, so that's one thing, avoiding detections. Now the next thing, why it's again kind of difficult to eradicate any incident with 100% confidence. The other reasons is that adversary actually reacts to countermeasures. So what I mean is that let's say you are dealing with any incidents and you have blocked an IP. Yeah, go on. Guys, I think there's some echo. Hello. Okay, I think it's better now. Okay, so now thing is that the other thing is why it is again difficult. The other I will kind of saying one real incident, but the other thing is that they react to countermeasures, and by react to countermeasures, what I mean is that let's say you are handling any incident, and what you do is that you block an IP address, for example, of the attacker, right? So what will happen? Uh, what will happen is that the attacker might kind of let's say. They will be kind of start knowing that okay they have been detected, so that is one thing. So if you block the let's say you block the IP address of the attacker for any kind of incident, so in most of the cases what will happen is that the adversary will know that they have been detected, and now they will continue the attack in a different way. Let's say they might communicate with a different IP address which we are not knowing about. Okay, so that can be one of the case. And the other thing is that the last thing is that the threats will return. So no matter how, like let's say this time you have flushed out the adversary from the systems, but those adversary might again return and kind of like again attack the systems in a different way because they have now gathered few intelligence about the company. So they will again return and maybe they will conduct a full-fledged attack against the company in a different way this time. So there are a lot of things kind of like why it is kind of sometimes difficult to kind of let's say eradicate an adversary. So now I will kind of share one real incident that I was kind of working on, where my team actually failed in kind of eradicating the attacker, and it was really a complex incident. So I'll just share a quick introduction about that incident. So the incident was that the attacker actually came to let's say computer one of the organization. Okay, and thing is that what they did was they uh, they dropped a malware in the system. I remember it was Cobalt Strike. Okay, they dropped a malware in the system, Cobalt Strike, and because of that, this Cobalt Strike had lateral movement techniques enabled. They were able to from computer one. They were able to kind of let's say they were able to laterally move to computer 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then from let's say so from one they were able to move let's say to 5 different computers, and from the fifth computer they were able to move to another let's say different 5 different computers. So it was a huge attack. The malware was like just spreading like fire. Okay, so what we did was that we actually were able to kind of from the both from the network forensic side and this forensic side, we were able to figure out where the malware has gone to. Let's say from one we were able to figure out 2, 3, 4, 5, and then from 5 we were able to figure out let's say A B C D E and 6. Okay, so this is something we let's say we found out. Okay, we found out like the malware has gone from here to all of them, but there was one thing which we were actually not kind of like we had the network logs that said that okay this computer the computer E was also kind of let's say somehow uh, visited by the attacker. Okay, that somehow the computer E was visited by the attacker. Okay, but when we looked at the computer E, we actually didn't found any suspicious hits in this one. In the computer E, we were not able to we didn't found any suspicious hits, like no kind of nothing, no malware, nothing in that. Okay, so